Well, here I am in my kitchen. The wife's out, so I can do this in my kitchen. She's out shopping. So I just wanted to show the parts here. I'm a little late in making this video. I've already started things here. As you can see, I've drilled some holes in this box. This is a 12 volt, 50 amp power supply. And I have my doubts that it's 50 amp, to tell you the truth. I mean, this is the same size power supply that they sell for 10 amp, 15 amp, and so on. So as an engineer myself, I know there's only so much you can do with heat sinks and heat removal before you blow things up. But anyway, I'm going to give it a try. 50 amp supply at 12 volts will provide 600 watts. You should derate that by probably about 20%. So I don't know what that, I can't figure that off at the top of my head, but probably around 500 watts. What did I say? 500. Yeah, right, like 450, somewhere around there. Okay, so it's pretty simple. Probably wondering what the hell I'm doing with this. This I'm going to make an air intake out of. It will be on the bottom like this, thusly. I'll have a coupler. I have a coupler right here. And I'm going to replace this with a screen, bug screen, and cap this off. And by the way, I use 1-inch components here and if you go to Lowe's, you go to Home Depot, they don't sell short pieces of 1-inch, PVC conduit. And so if you need little pieces like this to act as couplers or cap, whatever, you're not going to buy a 10-footer, okay? At least I'm not. So what I buy is these little, I don't know what you call these things, or, curves, angles, whatever they use for conduit, with a bell end on it. And when you buy them, you always get an end that's pretty much straight that you can cut off and use as a coupler, something like that. So that's what I do. I cheat a little bit because they're only about $1.50, these things, $1.38 or something like that. So I needed 2 couplers here to make up this piece. This goes in here like this. I can't put it all together now, but that goes in there like that, and there'll be a coupler on it. And then this will engage that, thusly. This end will be capped off. Hard doing this shit one-handed. Look at that, I got an end that won't fit. Did it again. I don't even know where the last video left off, but so anyway, I got this power supply. Got that piece in there. Comes with, I don't know if I'm repeating myself or not because I lost part of the video. My hand got in the way. Shut the camera off again. So this is like a screened gizmo here. It goes in like that, actually. And it probably will aid in the cooling because this is an exhaust fan on the top. And so you got to pull cooling air through the bottom. So that thing's got all those holes, so I guess you can get some air through there. So air will be sucked in through my kludge here, through the screened vent hole. Be sucked into the case, and hopefully, down and out the top here, out of the cover. And I'll be putting a hole in the cover here, probably a rectangular hole, and I'm going to put a hood over the top of this to keep the weather out. Pretty simple. Thus far, I have about, let me see what the power supply cost me. I think $40 for the power supply. The case was $40, I believe. No, $30. So that's $70. Miscellaneous stuff here, about $20. Got these grommets from Harbor Freight, and I'll show you what those are there for in a minute. These are 3/4 inch couplers. This is a 1-inch coupler. And another video, again, I'm probably repeating myself. I use these pieces. They're 1-inch. I cut off the ends right at the very end so that I could make little couplers like this, because you can't get anything less than a 10-foot piece of conduit from, I got to get something, from Home Depot or Lowe's. Lowe's sells 5-foot pieces of 3/4 and 1/2 inch, but they do not sell a 5-foot piece of 1-inch. And what the hell am I going to do with 1-inch, conduit, PVC conduit in the future? I got enough junk in my garage that I don't want to have to store it. So let me shut this down. This camera shut off on me no less than about 5 times now. Trying to hold it with one hand. Maybe it'll be better if I hold it with my left hand and keep my right hand away from the buttons on the screen. All right, so anyway, this is probably the most difficult part of this, by the way. This is the line cord for the power supply. I couldn't, the case plastic is too thick for grommets. And so what I did, and I know most of you don't have 3D printers, but what I did is I 3D printed this little plate with a proper size hole for a grommet that'll fit my line cord. So this you'll have to kludge together yourself. I mean, all you need is a piece of plastic that's thin. And the whole idea is that this is not the hole for it. I'm going to drill another hole for it up here, but you get the idea. I'm going to drill a smaller hole up here. But it'll go through like this, and I'll put 4 small screws in, probably 440 screws, to hold it to the cover, and, I'll RTV it and weatherproof it. But that's the way it's going to go in there. And like I said, that was probably the hardest part of this whole job. So look up 600 watt landscaping power supplies and compare the price between this and them. And you'll see why I did this, because the prices on those things are absolutely ridiculous. And, there's enough room in a case here. If you want to add a timer, you can add a timer. I happen to have a circuit that's inside the house that was purposely wired for outdoor lights, lights on the side of the house and that kind of thing, near the garage, the coach lights near the garage and that kind of thing. I'm just going to put inside the house, I'm going to put in one of those little outlet timers. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they actually will fit inside an outlet like this. And you can program it on and off from that. So that's what I'm going to use, because that line is dedicated. Matter of fact, I got one here. I use this for my foil light outside. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. Right there. That's a timer. And it controls the light in my foyer. It comes on around 5 p.m. and it goes off around 2 a.m. So similarly, I'll control these lights the same way. But there is room in here for a timer if you want to knock your head putting a timer in here. Timers are cheap. So anyway, you'll save considerable amount of money doing this. And by the way, if you don't know it, these power supplies are adjustable. There's a pot on them right there. I've been using these things for years for various things. Right there, if I can get my finger in there. Right there. And you can run them up. I haven't checked it out yet, but you probably run it up to at least 15 volts if you need to. I'm starting out with only about 10 spotlights, 5 watts each. So, I mean, this is overkill. But, you're going to do it, go big. Go big so you can add. Likely you'll add on in the future. All right, that's about the end of it. I'll show you how it looks when it's all glued up. Okay, and there you go. That's what you have to do. And because this is upside down, you don't have to worry about, weather stripping. It came with a gasket, but you don't need the gasket at all. It's going to be upside down. It's going to suck in air, and no way that it can suck in any water. So, and haven't screwed this down yet or cut a hole out for it yet, but this is a 3D printed hood. This will be the exhaust from the power supply. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to cut out this cover for that elbow I bought, and we're going to put a screen in there. Now I realize you guys don't have a laser cutter, likely don't have a laser cutter, so this is the way I chose to cut it out, but you could just easily drill around the periphery of that raised edge with a small drill on a drill press, or even with a hand drill. Break out the center, and then file it all out, and with a Dremel sanding wheel, sand it all down, whatever. But you don't have to use a laser to do this. I just happen to have one, and so just turned something on. I didn't mean to, but all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to try to align my laser to the center of this thing. And before I cut it, I'm just going to watch the red dot go around and make sure it's staying within the border of that thing. And when it is, I'm going to cut it out. I got my laser. There's no power on the laser right now, so it's not going to cut anything. It's just going to move around the inside of that thing. And I want to make sure it stays within the outline of that. So far, looks pretty good. I know it's hard for you to see. I'm trying to move the camera around. Yeah, I think it's good. I know most of you probably don't have a 3D printer, but this is how I'm making the hood, shroud, whatever you want to call it, the fan exhaust. A 3D printer, you could easily make this, or make something like this out of aluminum sheet. This is step lashing, I think, from Home Depot, Lowe's. But I do have a 3D printer, so that's what I'm doing. Okay, so I got it cut out, as you can see, a little uneven. I didn't have it straight on the cutting, in the laser. It wasn't straight, parallel, but doesn't matter as long as you cut a hole out and lift the lip. That's all that really matters. So what I'm going to do, and what I said, by the way, I started saying something in the last segment, and then somehow I got distracted from finishing what I was saying. But when you're cutting plastic on a laser, it's best, first off, the fumes are toxic, so you're going to have to get out of the garage or whatever work area you're in when you hit the start button, because the fumes are really bad. So, having said that, what I meant to say in the last video is that when you're cutting plastic like this, it's best to cut it at a low power. Don't try to get through, the whole cut in one pass. It's not going to happen. And because plastic, it melts. And when it melts, it makes a mess, okay? It's going to cool down and stick back together. So it's best to use a lower power and just cut it in several passes. I really don't know how many passes this took. I mean, I ran it through probably about 10 passes, but it might have been cut fully through in 4 or 5. Who knows? I didn't see any indication it was cut all the way through, so I continued. Uh, but hey, I got the job done. So as you can see, it's a little uneven. This area here on the right. But in the end, it doesn't matter. So it goes on here. And what we're going to do now is, and by the way, you don't need any weather gaskets or anything like that for this. We're just going to take a piece of screen, it's fiberglass or whatever the hell it is. It's not metal screening. And we're going to put it over here to keep the critters out. Okay, like this, over the top. And I probably can't do this one-handed, but you get the gist of it. I'm going to insert this over the top of it, force it in, so that the screen is in there. Put the screws in, and then with a razor blade or an X-Acto knife, I'm going to trim the screening off. And this will be the intake for the cooling. And simple enough. And there you have it. I trimmed it off with an X-Acto knife, sloppily, but it's trimmed off. You get the gist of it. And again, it's going to be upside down like this. And on the bottom of the box like this. Probably mounted like this. But that will be the air intake. And the screen will keep the critters out. And that's that. Okay, so my kitchen countertop's getting a little cluttered here, and the wife's complaining, but what I did was I 3D printed this. It goes over the fan outlet. And I know most of you guys don't have 3D printers. I mean, the first thing I did was I just found a pipe. Didn't fit, but I also 3D printed this just so that I could find the proper height of this box. But you could just find a pipe like this and find a way to mark it and just cut a simple hole there. You don't have to be fancy like me with this 3D printed thing here, but I like to complicate things. So anyway, what I did was after 3 tries at this, 6 hours apiece, I finally got it right. And so it's going to fit like that, but it's going to be attached to the door. And what I did was I put a couple of strips of double-sided carpet tape on here. I flipped it over, pressed down on it, and I've already drilled these holes, by the way, but this is what I got, and this tells me where it aligns to the cover. And what I did was I drilled 4 holes in it and then removed it like that. Sticky tape's not sticking well anymore, but now I got some alignment holes, and what I'll do next is again my fancy shroud here. Line up the 4 holes on this. Somehow, well, you know what? I just realized I'm probably not going to use this. I'm going to 3D print with this outline, the whole outline, just a flat piece, and this rectangular hole and a flat piece here, and that'll give me a cut template here. I'll draw the line where the slot needs to be, and then I'll cut it out on my laser. And I know you guys don't have lasers either. You can, just drill a series of holes and then punch it out and then smooth it out with a Dremel tool or something like that. But coming along. So I cut the hole or the slot in the box on the top of the box. I had to remove the bed from my laser and use a shorter lens, but I got it done. You see how to prop the box up too to bring it in the range of the laser head. but the template worked. I centered the template right in the center, or the head right in the center of the template. And this is Mach 3, if anybody knows what that is. And you can see that the template cutout, starts in the center, and then it goes from end to end. It took a little bit to align it all, but it worked out great. It's better than drilling holes and cutting it out and then sanding it out, but if that's all you have, that's all you have, right? Sorry about that. Anyway, it's printed. It's got some holes in it for some screws. It'll be gasketed or RTV'd, whatever, up at the top to make it weatherproof, but it should work. I don't think anything is going to blow up under here and into the unit, but we'll see. Very unlikely. Okay, so doing the last of it, the doodads here. I'm putting the lock nuts and things on the conduit. I haven't cut any conduit yet, of course, but that's where they'll go, and you know the deal with this. That's the exhaust. This will be the air intake right here, along with the screened input like this. It'll probably be more like this. When it gets on the post, it'll probably be pointed in this direction. But anyway, I'm not going to glue anything on any of this stuff until I'm ready to wire it up. I thought about putting a gasket around here, but I don't even think it's necessary. It's already pushing on the cover. Not going to lose a lot of air in that way. So there you have it. 600 watt power supply, 12 volt, regulated, box, everything probably cost about around $100 to build, and of course my labor. Well, I'm pretty much finished with it now. All I got to do now is mount it. See, I put a little lettering on here. I got it plugged in right now, and there's plenty of air coming out of here, so I know I did right. Well, looking pretty good. Now all I have to do is get some ambition to go outside in the hot Florida sun and dig some trenches. Later. So this is the end result. I've got my palms illuminated, front of the house illuminated, my flower pots are illuminated, my side wall, come out pretty nice. Architectural detail on the whatever you call that there. I put that in that little wall there for the palm tree, but I like it. It came out pretty good. I can add far more lights to this and not exceed the power on that on the transformer. Well, I don't call it. It's a power supply. Let's call it by the real name, power supply. Transformer is legacy. That's what they used to use, transformers, and they still do, I noticed. But I wouldn't use a transformer for these LED lights. I would use a power supply. Well, I did use a power supply, so how's that sound? Palms really look good with that, with the lighting.